But this is not the story of how I forgave my friend, but of how I forgave myself. Let me go back again. I left that poor sad girl on the back porch, and for the next 3 years I barely spoke to anyone about my breakdown in 2010. All trust was erased within me, and although I made some new friends in the town where we'd moved, I kept my true self and almost all my pain hidden away. Then, while I wasn't looking, a new best friend snuck in under my radar. Her name is Cara. Cara and I started out as friends of friends, and then for a while we worked together. Cara is a highly perceptive person, but she's almost shy of her gifts of deep understanding. It was quite by accident, while working alone together one day, that I told her about my deepest pain, betrayal. She was shocked that I'd lived through such an intense breakdown and had never sought help, but her words of insight were instantly disarming. I remember in that first conversation, I confessed to her that I felt intensely ashamed and guilty for the events of loss in my life, especially the abandonment of one that I had truly loved. "Oh, that's just control," she said. In my look of dismay, she explained, "We blame ourselves for the bad things that happen to us, because if we can make it all our own fault, then we can control it and stop it from ever happening to us again."
I am a whisper caught beneath the glare.
Blame ourselves for the bad things that happen to us because
Caught beneath the weight of the stare from your beautiful face. I am a vapor born down by the sun, born down by the wind and the rain and the soil of your love.
I was undone. How could I have missed this? I had been carrying the burden of blame for 3 years. I had been unable, even with all my mental techniques, all my leaping through flaming hoops, my flimsy show of strength and survival, to shift the weight of shame 1 iota from my back. And here, with one precise stroke of a sharp tool of wisdom, Cara had cut the rope that tied me to my self-blame.
She's almost reached the surface and it seems it's the end of my time.
I suppose after that I began to trust her, just a little. I remember one day she texted me and finished the sentence with the word love. I read that one word of affection and connection and my soul recoiled. I don't do love, I heard my injured self say. My sad, broken back porch self, however, so neglected and shut away by me, was eager to be heard and seen and loved.
Caught beneath the weight of the stare from your beautiful face.
Glasses of wine and late nights by the fire pit, and an unearthly grief would come pouring out of me. The flow was unstoppable once it began. It was a little like having a split personality. Melancholy angst poured out of my mouth and throat and eyes, like vomit, like tears, like blood. All the insanity of why, the unanswered questions, the maddening fear of the inexplicable. My heart had been broken by one I loved, and they had never truly been able to give me any real reason for their destructive actions. Bits and pieces of explanation, snippets of motive were revealed, but no map showing pitfalls to avoid was ever unfurled. So then, would it happen again? This fear tortured me. How could I trust anyone to be truthful in such an absurd and dangerous world?
I am a whisper caught beneath the glare. Caught beneath the weight of the stare from your beautiful face. I am a vapor born down by the sun, born down by the wind and the rain and the soil of your love.
How could I trust anyone to be truthful in such an absurd and dangerous world? What caused you to almost end me? Me whom you insisted you loved. Grief, anger, jealousy, mental illness, alcoholism, self-destruction, need, neglect, plain old selfishness. All these reasons were the reason. But none of those words answered the gaping, raging questions within me, the aching why of trauma and grief. Uncontrollable, the pain poured once I had unlatched the lock, and poor Cara sat patiently through each late night session, comforting, listening, and consoling. In the mornings, I could just barely remember all I had said. It wasn't words that poured out. It was like molten liquid grief. The self's core melted down in the blazing heat of betrayal and spewed forth by the violent shifting of my own self-made tectonic plates. My armour of survival was cracking. Then, one day after about a year of true friendship, I confessed to Cara that I knew I needed to change. I needed to take action. There is this thing within me, I said to her one day, this bitter, morbid sorrow. I really think it wants to come out. We concluded together that I should try to allow my grief to appear when I was sober, in the clear light of day, that I allow it out and that I have a conversation with it. Good Lord, I thought to myself, if I was already a split personality, this would christen me a schizophrenic. Talking to a part of myself, yet somehow it made sense. I had known a woman years before whose mother was violently murdered when she, the daughter, was only 14. Unable to cope with such unspeakable grief, the girl's father had barely spoken of the death and had silently moved on with his life. At age 35, my friend had started seeing a grief counsellor. The therapist had explained to her that when a person experiences unresolved trauma, a part of their being splits off. That part stays stuck, unable to move on. My friend's grief was stuck as a 14-year-old girl who had violently lost her mother. This explanation had always stayed with me, and so Cara's suggestion of making peace with my back porch self kind of made sense. What would it look like, feel like, if you allowed yourself to speak to her, the heartbroken crying girl on the porch, she asked. The image was not hard to conjure, I already knew. As a child, I'd watched a film where a villainous man had locked his wife away and kept her underground for months until her hair was matted, her fingernails grown long, her skin hanging from withered bones. As she came out of her prison, she wailed in agony and fear. A hag. That was what my splintered, pain-riddled me looked like to me. It's ironic that several times in my life I've been accused of being a little too witchy, of intuiting things I shouldn't, or playing too close to the edges of unorthodox religion. Of all the childhood spooks and ghouls, the image that had haunted me the most as a child was the hag. The old witch in the woods, so starved for love or goodness that she would gobble up children. Now here I was with my very own starved woman, terrified she would eat me alive. I was not in any way keen to unlock her from her cage, but I knew things had to change. She was coming out sideways through anger and fear. Melancholy bitterness was crumbling my clumsily made armour. I needed to make a move toward healing. It took me some time to summon the courage to open the cell door, but I figured Cara had been right so far in many of her assessments of my pain. She'd given me insight that had led to liberty in many ways. I could feel old streams of thought, self-destructive neurological pathways being rerouted through healing conversations and positive self-loving choices. So I decided, even though it's nuts to talk to yourself, I would have to try. I was sick of being sick inside.
Of the stare from your beauty. terrified that the laughing girl in me, she might have finally found the strength to call herself free. She was buried alive, but it seems she wouldn't die. She's almost reached the surface, and it seems it's the end of my time. I didn't go, I didn't go.